Welcome to One Man's Opinion. Today I am reviewing the new off-Broadway play Last Call, written by Peter Danish and directed by Gil Mehmert, running through May 4th at New World Stages at 340 West 50th Street in New York City. Raise a glass to my Patreon page by becoming a patron, where you can, for as little as $1 a month, support my work here, as well as my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee, where the latest episode is always exclusively available to patrons. The latest episode is on the 1941 Howard Hawks screwball comedy Ball of Fire, starring Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. Thank you to my current patrons, especially my Neo and Hamilton tier patrons, and welcome to the new ones. Links to my Patreon and Spotify pages will be in the description. Anyone who knows me well knows that I am a huge Leonard Bernstein fan, as well as a fan of conductor Herbert von Karajan. So as soon as I heard there was a play depicting one of their last evenings together, I knew I had to see it. Set in a blue bar of the Hotel Switser in Vienna in the fall of 1988, the play is a fictional interpretation of the meeting between Lenny and Herbert. Karajan, played by Lucca Zuchner, is sitting at a cabaret table studying Brahms' First Symphony for an upcoming performance when Bernstein, played by Helen Schneider, comes in, who is in Vienna to receive an award and intends, while in town, to see Karajan's performance. It's been a while since the two maestros have seen each other, and they spend the next 90 minutes catching up, talking about the past, and letting their egos battle as they debate music, conducting, what makes a musician great, and their own qualities as musicians versus each other. Plus, there is the big old elephant in the room. Bernstein is a Jew, and Karajan was a Nazi. I use conflicting verb usage here because Karajan had renounced his Nazi affiliation in 1945, fleeing with his wife Anna to Milan. This is in no way a defense of Karajan's joining the Nazi Party in 1933 and then rejoining in 1935. I'm with Bernstein in the audacity of it all, especially as Karajan didn't like to talk about his affiliation with the Nazis, but according to his biography by Roger Vaughan, he joined for career reasons, which to me, and I'm sure to Bernstein, who felt the same way, is pretty selfish. Still, in spite of all the literal world history between the two, they considered themselves friends. In a letter to his wife Felicia, dated January 7, 1954, Bernstein said he met Karajan while in Milan, and they had become friends. As Bernstein put it, I became really good friends with von Karajan, whom you would and will adore. My first Nazi. But as with many old friends, some things die hard, and Bernstein can't help but address Karajan's obliqueness about his record as a Nazi. In turn, Karajan calls out Bernstein's not serving in the American Allied Forces in World War II, claiming that Bernstein used his political connections to avoid serving. It's not addressed in the show, but Bernstein says in some of his correspondence that he went to serve twice during the war, but the doctors who would have cleared him medically told him he was more important for morale at home, making music, so they didn't medically clear him. I could go on with nitpicks of the play, but really, it's about two very different men, one a Jew, one an Austrian, who stemmed from wildly opposite socio-political worlds who were able to find a common bond and friendship with each other. This can make Last Call a very polarizing play for some audiences, and depending on how an audience member comes in to receive the play, will either find it reprehensible for daring to make a Nazi look sympathetic, especially to a Jew, in the middle of a fascist uprising here in the United States, or they can find the play full of hope that two men as disparate as a Jew and a Nazi can find commonality and friendship with each other. A real catch with this play is that there's a lot of insider baseball going on. There isn't much setup and establishing background, and the audience has to come in with some degree of familiarity with who these two men are. And when they start talking about their pasts and their art, referencing other artists, audience who don't know what or who they're talking about may get lost. This is a play about Bernstein and Karajan for Bernstein and Karajan fans. And it really is the fans that will walk away from the show with real satisfaction, living out what a fantasy conversation between these two men could have been like. I keep saying men, but it's two women who play the maestros. The night I was in attendance, Director Mehmert came out to introduce the play to the audience, and he attributed his choice to casting women in the two lead roles as a sort of Brechtian move, which I was fine with. I think Schneider and Zuchner are great and embody both men in their aged, more frail states with respect and devotion. I would be remiss to not mention Victor Petersen, who plays Michael, the bartender at the bar, who is an excellent countertenor who steps into the shoes of Maria Callas at one point as Bernstein and Karajan reminisce conducting her. The play is set in Vienna, and to maintain authenticity, when dialogue is exchanged between just Karajan and Michael, they speak German, with supertitles projected on the upstage wall of the set, which I thought was a nice touch. Chris Barreca has designed a mostly simple bar set with a couple cabaret tables. The bar itself opens up a couple times, transforming into a restroom, which allows moments of self-reflection by Bernstein and Karajan, which adds a bit of levity as their egos get the better of them in light comic fashion. I personally enjoyed Last Call, but I'm not going to begrudge those who may feel wary about seeing it. Like I said, some people aren't going to be receptive right now to a narrative about a Nazi and a Jew walking into a bar and being friendly with each other, even if they were fiercely competitive friends. Also, to fully enjoy it, it would require some relative knowledge about both men that will allow you to appreciate some of their conversations on a deeper level. Still, in the end, I believe it is a play of hope. That as horrible as the past can be, with reflection and growth, one day, maybe friendship and camaraderie can be found. But I'm only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Last Call, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be links to my Patreon and Spotify pages, along with my social media handles where you can support my work. You can also support me by liking and sharing this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be Playhouse on Park's production of The Irish and how they got that way. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.